Our next guest is Michelle Johnson. Michelle is an experienced advertising sales professional supporting Golf Week as well as the SCGA. So Michelle, let's just start from the beginning. Why don't you tell us a little bit about growing up and your early education and what got you into the game of golf?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I grew up in a family of golfers. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, actually a smaller town outside of Portland called Oregon City. And I'm a third generation women's golfer in my family. So my grandmother played, she had her 9-hole group and she was an avid participant in that. My dad played in local tournaments around Oregon. Every summer we used to go down to the Astoria Country Club, and he was in the Oregon Coast Invitational. I remember caddying for my parents when I was younger in their Twilight Golf Series. It was just a fun summer thing to do with my parents. So that's what I was part of, was just golf was the golf lifestyle. And took junior, clinics at the course and with my sister, and that's how I was introduced to golf.
So what were your early days in golf in terms of career? What started you down the path of a career in the golf business?
Yeah, so I kind of stumbled upon it with, I graduated University of Oregon, and stayed in my backyard was, of course, Nike.
Right.
And I worked for the advertising agency Wieden & Kennedy, which is very well known. And one of the industries I worked in media and account management was Nike Golf. And so I remember at the agency late hours negotiating back and forth between, who got more pages, Golf Digest or Golf Magazine. At the time, those were the two biggest players. And so that was really my intro into working in the golf business.
So now, can you tell us a little bit about your current role and what some of the responsibilities are right now?
Sure. I work in golf media. It extends beyond that. I work beyond advertising sales, but in events, so member outings with the SCGA or Golf Week with our Golf Week Raider programs. So I am directly involved in coordinating an advertising campaign with those events, bringing players to courses so that they can also participate in these different experiences that the different courses provide. I work with the courses in travel in particular for advertising campaigns, whether it be in digital, print, and then also sponsorships, so larger overarching sponsorships that we're doing one right now that with Woodford Reserve with the SCGA, and they're sponsoring our member outings. So that's something that we bring together and allow those who aren't directly related to golf but want to sponsor and be a part of that golf business as well.
So they talk about PGA, the PGA of America. We're hoping to grow the game of golf, which we are. You are growing the game of golf in your own way, which I love. Mm-hmm. And that is basically the overall goal. The more people that we can get exposed to and involved in the game of golf, the better. So I just want to recognize the fact that you too are growing the game. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to be a PGA professional in order to do that. So having said that, are there any specific challenges that you feel you have faced as a woman in a male-dominated industry?
Yeah, well, that's exactly would be my answer. It is a very male-dominated industry, and even in starting, it's evolved quite a bit today, which is really refreshing and exciting to see. But just by the nature of how golf has been created, it was for men to go out and play the game with their buddies, and now it's it's evolved where women are becoming more prominent in the industry, in careers, being open for women to work in the golf business, and that's refreshing to see. But walking into a conference room with 16 men, and you're the only woman and you're the one presenting, can be quite intimidating, and that I experienced that many a time. And even today, being on Zoom calls through the pandemic, it'll be me and my square and 6 or 7 men in the other. So you really need to be confident in yourself. And if you're not, then you quickly learn how to be.
There you go. So tell us about some of your favorite career highlights that stand out.
One of my highlights, I think, is working when I worked with Golf Channel. And when I worked with Golf Channel, they were really on an upswing. They were starting out their Big Break series, which is was a phenomenal thing to be a part of. I was part of developing the sponsorship side of bringing the Hawaii Tourism Board into the Big Break series, so for Big Break Hawaii. So I worked on the business side of making that happen, not the production side, but the business side, and making that connection for Big Break Hawaii to happen. And then the other was during that time at Golf Channel, they'd started a destination golf series. And now I believe it's part of the Golf Now program. But at that time, I worked with Lauren Thompson. She was just starting out her career at Golf Channel, and she was the host of this series. We went one time in Northern California and did a whole tour. And we stopped by Mavericks, which is, a famous surf spot. And I got to meet Jeff Clark, who's a famous surfer, and hear about his passion for golf. So the reason I say this is a highlight, it really was one of those moments in my career where I was able to meet different people, hear about their passion for golf, and they work in a completely different industry. And it really shows how golf is that connector, which is why I've stayed in the industry for that very reason. So that would be one of my highlights.
Well, it has been a very successful road for you, but along the way, is there anything that you can think of that you would go back and maybe do differently? Not necessarily regrets, but maybe I would have taken this path, or just anything you would have done differently, knowing now what you didn't know back then.
Yeah, I simply put, I think I would just play more golf. I would
love that.
I know, I would dive in and play more golf. Being a woman in golf, I've had a family. I'll go back when at my honeymoon, my husband and I honeymooned over in Hawaii, and I think we played probably 7-8 rounds of golf on our honeymoon. And then I had kids 2 years later, and that quickly changed. So I think being a woman in golf, that is one of the challenges as well. Not even walking into that boardroom, but being able to find the time and carve out, those moments for yourself where you can continue to develop your game and be, live out your passion. Because I think that being in the golf business, you have to have a sense of passion about the industry, and the challenge has been finding the time to play out that passion as a woman in golf.
Right. And I think women come to that mentally differently, because and I'm generalizing, but I'll speak for myself. It's very hard for me to justify doing something for myself for that long. And I have laundry to do. I should be helping the kids with their homework, or all these excuses. We're always going to have things to do. But I feel like in general, women have a harder time taking that time for themselves. And my husband will get a text the night before, I'll be there at 8 tomorrow. Sure, no problem. And he has no problem just going and not thinking about what he has to do. He does it, don't get me wrong. He's not being irresponsible. It's just more difficult for me to get to the golf course. That's something I think as women we can work on, and like you said, play more golf.
Yeah.
It's okay. What would you what advice would you give young girls today who are looking to get involved in the industry of golf, who have a passion for the game and want to make this their career?
Yeah, I think that, it's something where you have, your avocation and your vocation, and going back to that passion. If you, and there's a couple of ways I'm going to go answer this question, because I've lived it for so long, and I've played it, and I've taken a step back, and I've, tried to get back into it with lessons, and, and really have always wanted to be a good golfer. So I think that carving that time out for yourself, having your avocation, if you're passionate about it, then you make it your vocation, and you find a way to work in that golf business. I mean, maybe you're really good at PR. Maybe you're great at, some, fashion design, and you have a passion for golf. You can find a path into the golf industry through that, and marrying those two, what you're good at and with your passion for golf. With women in golf too, I think that there are three. I kind of was thinking about it last night, like the 3 A's, right? There's access. I think there needs to be more access for women in golf, and I know we're working on that. I know the LPGA has made huge strides in that as well, which is great. I think that second is aspiration. I think women are different in many ways than men. We have to have that connection. You want to have your friends with you, almost supporting you. You want to be able to goof up, and that's okay. You don't want to feel the intimidation of, oh my gosh, I have to make a good shot, I have to make a good shot, on the golf course. So, and having aspiration in these players or other women in golf, no matter where they touch golf in the industry, maybe not just a player. And then lastly, I think it's acknowledgement, just acknowledging that, we're at this place where to grow the game, we do need to tap into these, women golfers and make it easier for them, more comfortable for them. It's always been thought of as a very kind of stodgy, rigid industry. Maybe it's the attire that's required that's intimidating to women, like what do I wear on the golf course, or what clubs do I have to have 14? Can I take just 5? And certainly just educating women that there are different ways to, play the game. I love like Top Golf, is, it's great for all sorts of reasons. I think it's opened up doors for, just to make it more casual and accessible. So it's that access, it's the aspiration and the acknowledgement for these women players, and that it's okay to not fit the mold,
Right.
but just go out and learn it, have fun. And when I go out and play with my husband, the first thing I say, and it's terrible, was like, I don't want to be paired with anyone else. Because I don't want to be 3 men and me, and and have that be intimidated to play at that level. I just want, because I'm learning, and and I'm still growing, I should say, in the game.
Right. Acknowledging the fact that women approach the game differently than men. And I think the golf industry is starting to really do that. They're acknowledging there's a different mental approach from women, especially when you go out and you say you don't want to be paired with anybody. That's very common, very understandable. And I would encourage women to hold on to the idea that nobody cares how you play. They're so worried about themselves and their game. No one knows what your score is on any given hole, or how many it took you to get to the green. They will remember if you were able to keep pace. Nobody cares if you pick up your ball and then drop it on the green, or if you pick up for that hole, or if you play out the hole. It's how quickly you're doing it and whether or not you're fun. Are you an asset to the group? And I think women get very caught up in their performance, and I think that we're making great strides in letting everybody know and getting the point across that ability level does not matter. But until you're actually there seeing it for yourself, that's really a hard concept to grasp. So you stated that very well, because I believe a lot of women are going to relate to what you just said. Not just what you just said, but everything you've said today. We really appreciate your insight and you sharing your experiences with us, because I'm inspired by it, and I'm sure all those watching will be inspired as well. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Tina.